Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and I am back. Apologies for the huge delay. For those of you who follow me on social media, you sort of know roughly what's been going on. For the rest of you, I don't want to bore you with all that detail. So if you want to know, just head on over to my Facebook page. Otherwise, let's enjoy some crafting. So today we're going to be making a card using this collection from Hunkydory. It's just something I pulled out of my stash, but you can just use anything that you have. It's really the shape of the card that I think will be fun, and it's to make a card for a man, but again, it doesn't have to be. You can do anything you want. So we're going to be making an A5 landscape card, but we're going to be doing it in a particular shape. So what I've done is I've got what looks like a white piece of card, but it's actually a brown piece of coated cardstock by Hunkydory. I've marked the halfway point. I just took an A5 card and marked it, and I've taken it a little bit shorter on one side just to help me with the next part, because I need to have a little edge to fold. So then I took the second half that I haven't yet taken the end off, and I won't be, so it's just going to be a tiny bit longer, and I'm cutting that in half again vertically. And then what you'll see is what I've done is I'm just taking that little bit extra that I took off the edge, and I'm just scoring it so that I have a little piece that will allow me to make this into a card. So the back will be a full landscape A5 size, less a tiny bit on the side, and then the front part will be the same but only half the height. Now what you'll see is I've started off by putting both pieces with the brown facing outwards. Later on I actually changed my mind, because I realized that I'm actually going to be covering that front piece, so it would be much nicer to have the inside piece, which is not going to have anything extra on it, and have that with the brown, so when it's opened it looks coloured rather than having the white. So I just swapped my little crease around, and then I'm sticking it down using the red liner tape, which is really, really strong, and it means you don't have to fiddle around waiting for the glue to dry. Because this is coated cardstock, if you use wet glue it can be quite difficult because it's quite slippery. If you've just got regular cardstock and you're doing this, then you've got no problems with using just a wet glue. So you'll see here what I'm doing is I've got now a patterned piece of cardstock that was part of that little coffee collection that was in the Hunkydory set there. So you usually get like two pieces of patterned cardstock and a set of toppers, and then in my stash I had the coloured Hunkydory cardstock that I found a piece that would match. So all I've done here is I've marked off what will go on the front of that piece there, and I just am deciding for sure that that's going to fit, and it's going to fit where I want it to, and then I'm going to chop that bottom piece off so that I can stick that lovely pattern piece onto the front. But what I wanted to do as well is make sure that if possible there was enough left over if I needed it for anything else of that top bit. I didn't want to waste that if I could possibly avoid it, so I just made sure as much as possible that I kept that. Now the next thing I wanted to do was when I put that on, because of the way it was cut, it didn't quite fit. It would have been fine, and I could have made it work and it was no problem, but it made me think that it would actually look really nice with a little border of matting of gold mirror card. So because I had some scraps, so rather than taking it across the whole lot, I just used scraps and put a bit at the top and a bit at the bottom, and obviously you just want to make sure that you get that nice and straight, and all I did for that was just use a normal tape pen. It was perfectly fine, nice and strong for that, there was no problem. So then just making sure that it's all lined up on the left hand side, because obviously when you fold it, quite often what happens is it's actually, when you lay it flat, you will take it slightly too far in, so it is worth just double checking before you absolutely push it down that you have folded it correctly. And then I'm just taking the excess off the ends. And then I thought, well, do you know what? I've added that in, and if I stuck that piece down, it's going to have like a little dip in the middle. And then that got me thinking, well, actually it would look kind of cool to have it raised up anyway. So that's what I decided to do. So it was kind of doing things on the fly in a way. Sort of, I had a vague idea of what I wanted to do, but the details I was kind of adjusting as I was going along. And I really liked how this looked, and it's gradually, the brown cardstock on its own really isn't strong enough to make a card base, but I knew that I was going to be adding more bits to it. So by doing that, it was just adding that weight, and it really was working very nicely. Now here I've got another piece of cardstock just that was in my stash of Hunkydory that actually, again, it just matched nicely with that collection. So I'm just marking it to the right width, because obviously this is landscape, so it's slightly different, and we're just then going to decide exactly how I want this to go. So the first thing is, I don't want that top bit. I just decided that's like a brick effect, and I was like, that really doesn't go with the look that I'm going for. Now I don't need to cut the bottom off because that's going to go anyway. So then I was just looking to see if I liked the effect, and just hiding that bottom bit just to see, did I like it? Yeah. So now I'm going to stick it down. Now personally, what I do is I will stick this down first, and then I will cut it to size. Now what I decided was, I did not like the line at the top. It just made it too dumpy looking, too sort of short. Now I didn't quite get that stuck correctly. If you'll look in a minute, you'll see it's not quite right on the back, but it sits fine against that fold, so I'm able to cut it to size. I tend to use scissors as well. It's easier to do it with the scissors because it's easier to make sure that you get the line and you don't accidentally chop your card. If you use a like a guillotine or whatever, sometimes even though you think you've lined it up, you end up chopping half the card away. So I did chop just a little bit down the edge there. You'll see just down that edge, I needed just a little bit on the edge there. And then I decided I really didn't care for that on the back like that. I just, despite the fact that I ended up originally changing it around because I thought, oh, I'll have the brown on the inside, I just didn't care for that sort of lump of the fold. I felt it just looked neater and tidier to have that covered, and then I cut it to size. Now you can see here where the brown has just gone over that edge and it's just a little bit big, so that's no problem. We'll just cut that down to where the fold is, and then just a little nick on to the inside there, not needing to, and that will just take that piece out, and nobody would be any the wiser that it was just slightly too big and I went slightly too far there over. And again, just a little bit at the bottom there where the white just wasn't quite lined up correctly. And again, it's no big deal. You just cut it off with the scissors. So don't get too hung up if you don't get it perfect. You can easily correct it. But I think that, one, it gives it that extra strength because there was quite a lot on the front and there's still a little bit to add to the front. And I think it looked just better for having that solid look on the back. It just looked neater without that sort of fold and everything. And then I decided it really needed just that little bit of something on the corners. I just felt I didn't like that sharpness of the corners at the top, especially because I was going to be using this round piece here. So I'm just positioning and working out where I want these bits and pieces. I put it down. I just used like tape and I've stuck it down, and then I looked at it and I thought, I don't like the white on the back. I should have put a disc of brown on the back first. So if it was me, before you stick it down, I used a round die that happened to be the same size or good enough, and then I have had to actually cut that in half to cover it on the back. Now if you do this beforehand, it's going to be a lot easier. Now you can see it's only nearly, it's not 100% covering it, but it's good enough. It looks better than the pure white. It was unfortunate. It would have looked better if I'd have covered it perfectly before I'd stuck it down, because I could have hoofed the circle up a little bit and it would have worked. But anyway, it is what it is, and I don't think anybody's going to really notice that terribly. So then I just put the other bits down, and again I just lightly put the tape pen on, and then I don't really stick them down. I just position them and fiddle around, and then once I'm happy with the position, then I press them down. And that way, because it's the tape pen, you've got a little bit of time. It will stick and re-stick a few times. And also, I'm not really sticking it down. It just sort of holds it in place a little bit. And then also, it means that once you get it in place, all you have to do is go boink and you stuck it down. And it's much, much simpler than having to pick it up and then think, oh, where was it that I got it that was positioned correctly? So then I just got the other piece and I popped that there. And this one, I just was fiddling around with it a little bit. I just took a while to get myself happy with the position of this one. Just wanted it at an angle, but it was getting that angle just correct, and it took a little bit of fiddling. I actually did a bit of a cut there in the film because it took me a few minutes to get it how I liked it, but we got there. And as this is a man's card, I thought, well, gems aren't really, I don't want like glistening, sparkly gems. I mean, I do that sometimes. I don't think it matters. But I really felt like these lovely, these are from Stamping Up, I believe. And they're like metallic kind of beads that stick down. And they had this sort of coppery colour, which seemed a perfect match to the sort of coppery colours in the actual set. But they also had some lovely gold as well, so they had a lot of colours that would work. So I put 3 there, and then I put the goldy colour, I think it might have still be the coppery colour, but I can't quite tell. I think that was still the copper, one in each corner. Now the bottom ones you can't see as much, but you can still see them, and then a couple of the smaller ones on the sentiment, and that just highlights the sentiment as well, just sort of brings your eye to it a little bit, because there's a lot going on with the style of the card and the patterning and etc. So that just brings quite a small sentiment, it just brings it to the fore a little bit. So I think that looks really cute. Now you could also put acetate behind that front one if you wanted to, so that it stood, but the Hunkydory cardstock is quite strong on the toppers, so I didn't think it was necessary. And then I thought it would be just nice to have that extra bit on the inside at the bottom there, just added a little something to that inside. And there we go, that is our card finished. Apologies for the noise in the background if you can hear it. Dad's mowing the lawn, so that's what that is. And this was a card for him. So this was filmed quite some time back, but as I say, for varying reasons, I just haven't had an opportunity to actually edit this. But hopefully you've enjoyed making this card with me, and that you like the finished results, and also that you can see that the actual style and design of the card is really, you could use anything you have in your stash. It doesn't have to be these specific things. You could do absolutely anything with it. You could be a man's card, a girl's card, a woman's card, a child's card, whatever. You can be anything, and for any occasion as well. I think it would work. So I hope you've enjoyed making this with me, as I say, and thank you for your patience, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Bye.